Hey friends, let's get moving and give our core a little bit of love. So this exercise is called the dead bug, which, I don't know how you feel about bugs, but you'll see why. A dead bug rolls over onto its back and kind of like flails its arms and legs. And so that's kind of what this position is as well. We're going to be lying down on our backs and moving our arms and legs. And the movements of our arms and legs are going to call upon our core muscles to stabilize our spine. So the tendency might be when you lay down on your back and you start to move your legs and your arms, the tendency might be for your back to kind of arch somewhat, for your rib cage to flare forward, for your pelvis to come into an anterior tilt, which is lifting your lower back away from the ground. And so to get the most out of your dead bug, we are gonna lock our pelvis in and lock our rib cage in to that neutral position so that we are not destabilizing the spine as we move the arms and the legs. So to help us do that, you're gonna use a yoga strap or a belt, whatever you have, and you're gonna fold it and place it down on the ground. Now, you can also have a blanket close by to put under your head. And so you can just do that to make it more comfortable for you. Or if when you lie down on your back, your rib cage really flares up towards the ceiling and there's a lot of space between the back of your rib cage and the ground. Or when you try to do the dead bug and move your arms and legs, it is super hard for you to stabilize your spine. Go ahead and place that blanket underneath your head and or your shoulders, and or is the conjunction of the day. And that's gonna help you to keep your rib cage down against the mat. Okay, so that's an option for a variation. And then as you get stronger, maybe you'll be able to take the blanket out, but it's not really a big deal. I'm gonna put the blanket back behind me because I don't feel like I need it today. And so I have the yoga strap is just above my pelvis and my lower back, okay? And so first I'm gonna bring my rib cage down. And so you can see that I'm gonna relax. If you look at my neck and then you watch me bring my rib cage down, it kind of makes my neck move into a bigger arc, makes my chin point up towards the ceiling. So when you do that, if your neck comes into this position and it doesn't feel well or kind, that's another indication that the blanket under your head would be a good move. And then keeping your rib cage down, you're also gonna press your lower back, press your back into the ground. And so that's really gonna help, for most of us, keep our pelvis in a neutral position. So neutral is when your pubic bone and your hip point are in a line with each other. And so that's gonna require you to sense below any lovable soft tissue to your bone structure and sense where your bone structure is. So I'm pressing the back of the ribs into the mat. I'm pressing my lower back into the strap. The strap is there to remind me to keep my back just like that. And so kind of the first step is to hold that and make sure you can breathe. Can you still breathe even though your abdomen is engaged like that? Okay, that's the first step. The next step then is to just kind of explore the movement of the arms and legs. The arms are a lot shorter for most of us than the legs, so I find it's an easier thing to start with. So you can take one arm overhead and notice if you can keep your back and your low ribs pressing back into the ground as you take your arm overhead. And then you can take the other arm overhead. And you can maybe just stay here. I mean, this already feels like some work for my core. You can also try taking both hands overhead, which is a bit more challenging. because your core has to work more to stabilize. Okay, so after you've explored your arms and making sure that you can keep your ribs down as you take your arms overhead, then you can explore with the legs. So keeping the same rib and pelvic position here. And I'm just gonna put my arms down by my sides. I'm gonna take my right leg and extend it out any amount, okay? Extending it out straight and long is gonna be more challenging than keeping the knee bent, okay? So you can extend slowly. And then try the left leg. And actually, my neck is starting to get a little cranky with me, so I'm gonna reach up and put my blanket under my head. Oh, much better. Okay, so going from side to side with the legs, noticing how that feels, if we can keep the pelvis and the rib cage where they are. And maybe yours looks like this. Just reaching the heel a bit away from the pelvis. Okay, so then the next step would be to do legs and arms at the same time. And there's so many variations that, of ways that you can do this. So one way is to do contralateral, which would be opposite arm and leg. So you can take your right leg out and your left arm up, and you can bring them back in. And you can do just the same side over and over again, or you can switch sides and alternate each time. So that's contralateral, opposite arm and leg. Another option is to do ipsilateral, same side. You didn't know you were gonna get a vocab lesson today, did you? So same side would be right leg, right arm. And again, you can keep going on this side for several reps, or you can alternate and do right side and then left side. Okay, so that's another thing that you can do. I'm gonna go ahead and relax my belly for a moment. If you're still engaged, go ahead and relax your belly. Notice how your rib cage then kind of lifts towards the ceiling, your pelvis kind of tilts forward a little bit. Take a big breath and let your belly really expand when you inhale. One more. One thing that can be challenging after you've done a lot of core abdominal work is to remember that when you get up from your exercise time and head back into your daily life, you don't have to keep your belly braced, okay? You want that to just be relaxed normally, and then when you go to move your arms and your legs, a healthy core is gonna respond instinctively and turn on its own. You don't have to make that happen. So I wanna show you one other variation of the dead bug, and this is kind of an up level. So make sure that what we just did felt really comfortable to you before you try this next challenge. And so that would be, again, bringing the low ribs down and bringing the pelvis into neutral, flattening the back into the strap, into the ground. And then you can try this with one leg up. Okay, so if you're gonna do a lot of reps on one side, either ipsilateral or contralateral, instead of returning your foot to the ground in the bent knee position each time you go, you can just keep your leg up, okay? Another option is to have both legs up at the same time. And so here's where things can get a little bit more challenging. So you can still do your same side. You can still do your opposite side, your contralateral, opposite arm and leg. And when, it's hard. When you have the legs up, then you have the option of doing arms and legs, both arms and legs together at the same time. So that is kind of, I consider that to be the most challenging form of what I'm showing you today. And so, there is, even though this is like the most challenging way, there is still a way to scale it. So the further you take your arms and legs apart, the more of a challenge it is. So you notice, if I'm just doing one arm and one leg, I can fully extend, okay? But when I have my legs up and I'm doing both arms and legs at the same time, I am not gonna be able to keep my core braced and take my legs and my arms all the way apart. If I did that, it would be like this, and my lower back would come away from the ground. So my body's not ready to do that yet. So you can also try that same arms and legs with a block or a ball in between your legs and your hands, and you can tap those things together. Okay, so that's the dead bug. Whew. My belly and back feel super warm right now. And one of the things that I love about the dead bug is that it really helps me to feel super supported from the inside out. I tend to feel taller and stronger all over after I do the dead bug. So I hope this was an informative session for you. Thanks so much for joining me.